Good morning, it's the 19th of December 2016, 6 days away from Christmas Day. My name is Kafui Day and welcome to Heart Talk from a very cool and mellow asylum down in the heart of Accra. And today I am pleased to have with me and to share time with you the Acting Director of Public Affairs at the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, Kate Addo. Kate, good morning.
Good morning, Kafui. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure and Merry Christmas in advance.
Merry Christmas.
This coming up, this week is going to be quite a busy one for you because Parliament is back and there are a few things that are going to be happening from today. Give us a sense of exactly what you have lined up for you.
Well, like you said, Parliament is reconvening tomorrow, 20th of December at 10 a.m. Now, basically, Parliament will be dealing with constitutional provisions that are required for Parliament to perform before the year folds in terms of before we start dissolution processes. And one of the key things that we do is provided for in Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, which requires that the sitting president, before the dissolution of a parliament, must account to the people through the parliament on, the program called the State of what will happen in this particular meeting. So we are hoping that on Thursday the president will come to Parliament and account to the people and we'll get the State of the Nation address them. Now also we have the Parliamentary Training Institute. The Parliamentary Training Institute is an institute that has been set up by the 6th Parliament, and the aim is to help with benchmarking. At the moment, we find that there's a lot of collaboration between Ghana's parliament and other parliaments in the world. Ghana's parliament practices a very unique system, the hybrid system, which is a combination of the British parliamentary system and the American presidential. Now, what happens is that most countries in the world, most parliaments in the world are either parliamentary or presidential. And most of them are either unicameral or bicameral. But in our case, we are just unicameral, and we have a system where you have an overlap. Issues of whether separation of powers are not compromised because you have members of the executive also being members of the, the legislature. And it's not exclusive. It's exclusive to those people who are, as against in the British Parliament, where all members of the legislature double as executive. So then the issues of separation of powers come into play. So people ask us, how are you able to, resolve issues of, not being a rubber stamp parliament? And that has led to a lot of interest in Ghana's parliaments the world over. So you have people from the Interparliamentary Union, you have the European Parliament, the Pan-African Parliament, ECOWAS Parliament coming into Ghana to come and find out how we've been able to sustain this system for so long. And for that reason,
these are collaborations that you're talking about.
Yes, and for that reason, we've found a need to have a center where they can come and have a academic environment to work. And also people like you and me who want to improve on our knowledge of Parliament can actually come to Parliament and learn. So that will be done on Friday. And of course, we have our Thanksgiving service on Wednesday, which will see the Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols, but will also double as a Thanksgiving service for the 4 years. And for how far we've come. This is the 6th Parliament of the 4 had uninterrupted legislative power in Ghana. So there's cause to celebrate. Those are the things that we'll be celebrating basically.
Tell me a little bit about the PTI, the Parliamentary Training Institute. What kind of impact do you think it will have on parliamentarians?
We are expecting that members of parliament, you see, the thing about parliamentary processes and proceedings is that you can read about it, you can actually know about it, but you have to practice it to get the skill.
Like riding a bike?
Yes, it's like riding a bike. You ride a few times, you fall off, but if you continue, then you get the hang of it. And that's what happens with this one. So we find that people come into Parliament, and we're going to have quite a few new people in the coming Parliament, in the 7th Parliament. So there's a need to train these people to understand how the system works as soon as possible, so that they can hit the ground running, because nobody's going to say that Kafui Day is the first time MP, so we'll cut him in his slack. At the end of the 4 years, you have to show what you have done with the 4 years, both in and outside of Parliament. And what happens in Parliament is crucial to the development of our democracy. So it's important that we equip everybody to ensure that people, as much as possible, are able to, do that which they have to do. And for that reason, we are trying to, improve the things that we equip them with. And one of them is the PTI, the Parliamentary Training Institute. That's not to say that we will not have our usual orientation. We will have our usual orientation. And also, people are now beginning to learn at the feet of those who know more. So you have the front benches helping the back benches of the various caucuses and helping to carry them along. So we are expecting that the PTI will augment the efforts of what we'll do traditionally as Parliament, as we've done in the past.
I'm glad you've given this clarification, because last week we spent time speaking to members of Parliament who are coming for the very first time. We spoke to 5 of them, 3 from the NPP, 2 from the NDC, and I kept asking them, how are you going to equip yourselves with the skills to perform effectively for your constituents in Parliament? And so the PTI, I think, is a great idea.
It is, but also more importantly, I think it's a job that you learn, and speaking from my own experience, it's a job that you learn as you practice. So as new members, it's imperative that you come to the chamber as often as you can, and when you come to the chamber, you pay close attention. Especially, you should know what order you are coming under. If you let's say if you are opposing a motion that's been moved, what order are you coming? If you are requesting Mr. Speaker to do something, what order are you coming under? If you are contributing, you must know those things. When you move a motion, when you are seeking an amendment, when you are making a statement, all these things, it's important that you pay close attention to and study how the system works, because Parliament is a traditional place where traditions are cherished and things are done a certain way. So you may be the most savvy person outside, but once you get in, it's important to sit back initially and then observe how things are done, and then get into the groove of things as quickly as possible. So the things you want to equip yourselves with: your standing orders, your constitution, and then we have something we call the Eskin May. The Eskin May is like the Bible of parliamentary practices. Almost every 2 or 3 years, there's a new version or something like that. There's a new version of it. But even if you have an old version of an Eskin May, it helps you to understand how Parliament works. There's also another book called Robert's Book of Rules, which is also got to do with Parliament's work. So the thing is research, pay attention, and as much as possible, learn as quickly as you can. And then you hit the ground. And the practice also on the floor of the house. The thing about being a first timer is also that you get heckled a bit. I mean, prepare for that. You may be heckled here and there. And also the fact that when you are making statements on the floor, it's even different from working on television. For example, I mean, we are speaking to millions of people. But when you are in that enclosed space and you're speaking to, let's say, a total of, let's say, even 600, including the galleries, it's still a bit nerve-wracking. So it's important to get your act together and make sure that you're on the ball.
This current Parliament, the 6th Parliament, has less than 3 weeks to expire.
Yeah.
And there must be a volume of work to be done before this Parliament expires. Tell me about how you're going to marry those two things together.
There is a lot of work that is outstanding. But then again, all the parliaments of the Fourth Republic have had similar situations where the life of a parliament is coming to a close and things have not been finished. We have instruments that we haven't finished. We have motions that we are still dealing with. And of course, we have lots of bills that we're still dealing with. That is the fact. Now, what happens is that the business committee is meeting today. They determine the agenda of Parliament, of the House. So they will come up with a plan that will determine how much we will do. And this Parliament is known to sit for hours. I mean, before we took a break from the 3rd Parliament, we sat till midnight. So it would not be the first time if we need to sit for very long hours to finish work that has been done. And while we've been away, there's been a lot of work at the committee levels. So we are expecting that as much as possible, the things that cannot be put away or cannot be postponed will be dealt with.
Like?
Before. Well, I will not be able to say specifically, but I'm saying that the things that need to be dealt with in terms of bills and those things will be dealt with before. I mean, I don't have any doubts. Yesterday, I was with the minority leader and we were talking about this, and he was saying that as much as possible, Parliament was going to come together and tie, all its loose ends before it stands dissolved on the 6th of January.
The RTI bill is one that is close to the hearts of so many people, not just journalists.
I knew Kobe was going to go
my
there.
director is a good director. My producer is a good producer. He knows the issues and he's feeding me with the stuff. So the RTI bill, it's still at the consideration stage.
Yes. You see, the RTI bill is, as you said, at the consideration stage. It's far advanced. We are expecting that the committee will, by all means, have something to say about it because of the interest that it has generated. And we are expecting that by the end of today, we should see it on the order paper or the agenda, and then also that work will be done on it because it's far advanced. But I also said this on another platform that in the eventuality that a bill like that does not get passed, people say, or traditionally, the life of one parliament or one parliament cannot determine the activities of the next parliament. So that if, let's say, we don't finish the RTR this particular term, we can say that we are taking it to the next parliament. The next parliament will have to make its own decisions. But in making its own decisions, it will be informed by the activities of the previous parliament. So that the decisions they will take will be a reflection of what we've done before. So even if it doesn't get passed, and I don't know if it will not get passed, because I know that at the last meeting, it was almost passed. We had gone on the second consideration stage. You see, there's a lot of, what's that thing called? Consultations with that bill. It's like the ROPA and the domestic violence bill when we're doing it.
Okay, but this bill must break all records for the length with
no. I mean, I refer
this is the fourth parliament dealing with this particular bill.
That's not that's not the only bill that has.
But let's talk about this one, RTI.
The RTI.
Put the other guys aside.
Yeah,
let's
okay.
Deal with
and I'm saying that this parliament, this sixth parliament of the Fourth Republic, has done a lot of work, probably the most work on the RTI. But then again, issues keep coming up, and you don't want to ignore these issues. And so what happens is that consultations keep coming on, even as we are crossing our I's and dotting our T's, crossing our T's and dotting our I's. So we keep going back and forth with that particular bill. At the time when we broke for break, we were all under the impression that the bill was going to be passed, only for something to happen and for a need to relook at certain provisions of the bill. And so because of that, I'm saying that my instinct and my experience will tell me that that's a bill that will be passed. But because I haven't seen the agenda, I don't want to, stick my foot in it and say that it's definitely going to be passed. But if you'd ask me as Kate, I'd say that it's one of the most likely bills to be passed.
Because I just don't get it. I mean, I don't make you a spokesperson for the parliamentarians, but for 4 parliaments, 1 bill.
Well,
we must be in the Guinness Book of Records.
See, again, like I said, you can't hold one parliament responsible for.
So I say 4 parliaments.
But if you say 4 parliaments, we're talking about the 6th parliament. So let's stick to the 6th parliament and what is done.
You were with the 5th. You were with the 4th as well.
I was.
Yes,
I was.
Yeah.
I was, and I'm saying to you that bills like that, for instance, if it's late and not much work was done on it, then you can, although it's alive, it's not really alive, but it came alive in the 6th parliament, and a lot of work has been done on it. Consultations with experts, with people who are interested, pressure groups, trying to get us to pass the bills, and you won't believe the volume of contributions that come in for that particular bill. Another bill like that, I mean, I don't, try to belittle the importance of that bill. But another very important bill, which is also in the same situation, is the property rights of spouses. That also is one of those ones that is almost difficult to do anything with, because you move 2 steps forward, the contributions you get to that bill takes you 4 steps back. So you need to start all over again. So these are not easy bills to pass. And sometimes when Parliament is working and it seems to be working slow, the thinking is that maybe Parliament is resting on its duties or something. But no. And I used, a clear example, I used this example of the domestic violence bill when it was going to be passed. People were saying that we should pass the bill, women's rights and all those things. And then one day we had a public forum, and there are things that people said. For instance, some women didn't want the bill passed because they're saying that, look, if you hit me, if my husband hits me and I go and report and you arrest him, how am I going to eat? So we needed to take all these things into consideration. And that's the same with the Right to Information Bill. There are issues about the bill that have to be carefully looked at, and people keep giving realistic, cultural, relevant contributions to the bill that need to be looked at.
Do you know the biggest issue that still needs to be looked at, the most stickiest of the issues?
Well, I from the top of my mind, I cannot tell you. But the issues the conversations that I've had, what tend to happen is that people are wondering how we can, we can find a balance between the
Power doesn't want ordinary people poking their nose into their business. Is that on
No. Kafui, I'm sure you are aware of how of the need as a country to handle information in a certain way. Because if you do not handle information that you are given in a certain way and there's misinterpretation, we can't have a Rwanda in Ghana.
But that's precisely the point. Because there's little access to information, we are open to speculation. If
But
everything was opened up, then we would get the access and we would not speculate.
On the contrary, there is not little information, access to information.
It's hard to get information from the ministries and the departments. You've got to go through a long process. And they'll tell you, why should I give you the information? Go away.
Really?
Oh, yes. And I'm a journalist. I can imagine Joe Public.
I didn't know that, so I cannot dispute that. But I'm saying that I think that I can almost bet on it that is one of the things that will really be looked at. Because again, our speaker was very interested in that bill. I'm sure he still is interested in that bill. So I don't have any doubt that it's one of the ones that we will deal with and find solutions to.
Today is a big day for the first time for the new parliament, those who won the elections on December 7th. And there's some registration that's going to happen today. Exactly what is that and how does it impact on the workings of the new parliament? The
registration is going to start at 9, will end at 5 each day from now to Friday. Now, the aim of the registration is to get a biodata of the members of the members elected to the 7th parliament. We find that there's quite a large number of new people coming to enter. And like I said, one parliament expires, we leave everything in there, and then we go into the new one. So there's a need to ensure that we, first of all, identify each and every member elect, and also to make sure that that card is what's going to give them access to the chamber.
What kind of card is it? Is it biometric? Or?
It's an electronic card,
okay.
The same as we use now. To enter our offices in the Job 600. So you get the card, it gives you access to the chamber. Without that card, you cannot come. Because how can I be sure that, because he's my friend, you don't impersonate Kojo Oponkruma? Because I probably don't know Kojo Oponkruma physically. So we're saying, come to Parliament, let's verify you before you come on the 7th to avoid, that. And also, don't forget, I will be selecting a speaker. It is that ID card that will serve as your identification to qualify you to get the ballot paper that you will need to vote with. So those are the two main reasons why we are conducting. And then also we will prepare our parliamentary register, which will be used for the life of this parliament. So we collect the biodata this time, and then we do that so that it's a reference book. We've always had it in all the parliaments except in the 6th parliament. And what we do with it is that when you are looking for information from my office, you don't necessarily have to come. If you have a copy of that, you are looking for maybe when a certain member was born, we just refer to that. It's a reference document.
We'll talk a little bit about the procedures for selecting a new speaker. But let me talk to you about your interface with the members of parliament. Exactly what is your role working with them?
Well, you see, the institution of parliament works to assist the members of parliament to run the, so it's like a two-thonged monster. So what we do is that we facilitate the work of parliament to the extent that if a member of parliament, as a part of the institution, needs something, we have to be there. We provide that administrative support for the institution of parliament, for the members of parliament.
So the new people coming into parliament, they will need to have your number on their phones, speed dial.
Hopefully, hopefully, but some of them do find their feeds very quickly. So
we have 35 women now in parliament, as against 29 from the current parliament.
But we shouldn't be proud of that. I mean, look at how many.
Yes, I want your comments on that.
I mean, it's still not right that we have so little women in parliament. We would have wished, we're hoping that being female and all, that we'll get more female parliamentarians. But even with the numbers that we have, they are still a very formidable force. They work very hard, So we don't have any doubt that now that the numbers have increased a bit, we will see them being more active than they've actually been.
Why do you think the numbers are not increasing as fast?
Politics has a certain cultural context, which is rightfully so. We are a paternal society, and so people tend to be kinder to men in certain fields than to women.
Really?
So it is true. I mean, I work in a very male-dominated environment.
People are nasty to you?
Maybe nasty is a harsh word, but it's easier for the males.
Unkind.
Very unkind, just because of your sex. And, it sort of hinders how far a person. So you have to work twice as hard as your male counterparts in order to gain the legitimacy that you deserve. So I would say that that's one of the reasons why we don't have as many women. And also, when you put our politics in a cultural context, some men don't want their wives doing that, and some women will take that. that they make no say mama menye. So if you do that, you are on your own. And she doesn't want, to not have a man, so she will not do it. And then some people will say that oba we nani didn't do it, someone meaning only you things like that tend to affect. And I mean, we live in a cosmopolitan area, so it's fine. But when you go to the rural areas, when we have what we call the outreach programs, when we go outside of the urban areas and we're talking to the rural folks, sometimes even simple issues of lining up and asking questions, the men want to be the ones in front, and the women actually let them. So I say no. It's purely on first come first business. It says, oh no, he's my husband, he's my husband's brother, he's my uncle. Let them know. Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yes. So for me, that would explain why we don't have as many women, as we should in Parliament. But I don't have any doubt that the Women Caucus will do what it's always done. They are very, very formidable. The men can tell you that in Parliament.
Let's talk about the election, another election. This time it's an internal one, inside Parliament. They're going to find a speaker. Do you have a timetable for that election?
Yes, we do. What will happen is that Parliament will stand dissolved on the 6th at midnight, on the 6th of January 2017. Now, at the same midnight, after 12 midnight, 7th January, a new Parliament will be sworn in. So we'll actually be out at work at 12 midnight on the 7th.
So you will go to work?
Well, we will go to work,
at
yes.
that time?
And the members will come and we will swear them in at that time. When we swear them in...
Sounds very mystical. I mean, why are you doing a swearing at midnight?
Because that's what we don't want. You see, if you don't swear them in, between the time that the Parliament stands dissolved at 12 midnight and the time that we swear them in at 10 a.m. when Parliament sits, we will not have a Parliament. We will not have a democracy. We've done it before.
There was an instance like that?
Yes.
Where there was
We've done it before, and the explanation that the experts gave was that at that time, the clerk is in charge. But don't forget that by the same token, what it will mean then is that the presidency will also stand dissolved or expired at the same time that Parliament stands expired. So you will not have a president, you will not have a Parliament. So if we swear in Parliament at that time, then at least you have something. And you know how our system works. In the absence of a president and a vice president,
then you have the speaker.
Then you have
so
the
he
speaker.
becomes the head of state.
Yes.
Okay.
So between that time, we will have some sort of system in place. And that is why we swear them in at the time. And it's a very beautiful ceremony. I prefer that to the daytime one. It's always very beautiful. In the night, people come very colorfully dressed and everything.
So that is expected to happen this time?
It will happen. It will happen.
6 January in the night,
Parliament will stand. 6 January, Parliament stands dissolved. So we don't have to have a ceremony for that. In fact, once the time approaches, it is deemed to be dissolved. So that if, let's say, on Thursday or Friday when we adjourn, the business committee decides that this Parliament is not returning as to plenary, then what it means is that on the eve of the 7th, it is dissolved.
Okay.
No ceremony, nothing. Then you have to activate the life of the next one.
Yes.
And that is done by the inauguration. So the inauguration starts at midnight. We inaugurate the Parliament. The parliamentarians elect a speaker. Now, electing a speaker, the speaker will have to be nominated. So the names will float about. If Kafui gets nominated, you have to send a letter of consent, which must be lodged with the clerk.
When will those nominations come through? I mean,
names are members will nominate. When until the elections, anybody can nominate. Any member can nominate. So members will nominate. When you are nominated, you must write a consent to the nomination. So once you consent to the nomination, then on the day of elections, if it's just one person, hallelujah. If it's more than one person, we go through the process of voting and then we select.
Are we likely to have a woman come again this time? What are the names floating around?
Well, I don't know what the names are. I'm so insulated that I don't know these things.
Let me give you the names that are floating about.
Well, let me see what names you have.
Mrs. Blay.
We've seen him before as first deputy speaker, second deputy speaker. So
Okwe.
Him too, we've seen him before.
Ankuma.
Very nice man.
Gate.
Another nice man.
Aikwe.
Excellent man.
Is that your choice?
No. I say excellent because I haven't seen him in the Parliament. And plus, I have a personal relationship with him. We went to the same school. I think it's fantastic. It would be very good to have somebody from my old school come. But the people that you mentioned are people with a wealth of knowledge on parliaments. These are people who understand, how Parliament works. Let's take somebody like Honorable Papa Osankuma. Excellent debater, very nice person, right temperament, easy to work with. So you come to the floor of the House, and from the beginning of the fourth Parliament, of the fourth Republican Parliament, I can say without a doubt that when he gets up to speak, speakers defer to him. Speaker after speaker defer to him because they know that his contributions are valuable. This is a man who is going to contribute to the debates. And sometimes when tempers are really high, you find that he gets up and everybody sits down. So yes, he commands a lot of respect, and he will be a very good consensus builder. You go from him, you take Jogate, my teacher, another brilliant man. When he comes to
what did he teach you?
He taught me company law, constitutional law, and we call him Abu Ramadan behind his back because he's always talking about the Abu Ramadan case anyhow. But he comes to the floor of the House and he explains every bill and the reasons that went into it. So if you have him as a speaker, you're going to have very detailed discussions on the floor of the House, and that will help you people, and that will also enrich debate. Then you come to Professor Michael Kay. Again, we've worked with him before. Good temperament, very hard-working man. He's always in the chamber doing the right thing, ensuring that people are doing that which they will do. And then you have my very own uncle, Uncle Fred Blay. He's been on both sides of the House as the first deputy speaker, as second deputy speaker. He's done it. He knows how to do it. So really, how do you select from this group? It's a tough choice.
Well, sources tell me that Professor Okwe is in a comfortable lead, as we would say. But
are you sure you want to say comfortable lead?
Well, that's what I hear. But you think it's possible that there could be a dark horse like Mr. Bejina Hughes, who just came in from nowhere, really, and then confounded the critics and the analysts?
We could have a dark horse. You see, I was just saying before we went on air that he didn't do badly. Saying that he was coming, he had such big shoes to fill. He executed his duties to the best of his ability, and he didn't do badly at all. So if you have that too, that could also be a new experience. And you have Madam Speaker too, who wasn't really your traditional politician, coming in and doing a very good job of it. So really and truly, it depends on the ability of the person. It doesn't matter whether the person has a million years of experience. I mean, the experience does help. But if the person doesn't have that, and the person is basically somebody who I feel from my experience that the best quality a speaker can have is to be conciliatory. That for me is like 60% of the work. And then you must also command respect from the members. The members must feel that they owe it to their speaker, not just as a duty, but because they feel that the speaker deserves it. So if you have those two ingredients, the processes and procedures will come to you. Because don't forget that as much as you have to have practiced these things, there's also people that you are working with. And even our current speaker, who I call him a working Eskime because he's done this from 1993 in leadership and all sort of positions, always will ask, what is the sense of the House? Because he wants to see how people are feeling.
Gauge the mood.
Yes, gauge the mood. And then, so he doesn't just take unilateral decisions. He says, okay, minority leader, what do you say to this? Majority leader, do you want us to do this on the floor of the House?
But for us, the ordinary people watching him, we kind of saw him as like a hardline chap.
Well, he had his convictions. He has his convictions, but he was to a large extent. He would to a large extent, ask people what the feeling of. And then he always, one of the phrases that he likes to use is that what is the sense of? I want to see the sense of the House. So he would ask again. He would defend someone like Honorable Papa and ask him, Honorable Papa, what do you think? And then he relies a lot on precedents also. And then he'll go to the record to say that okay, this was done this way. Okay, so we'll do it that way. So he wasn't really. See, the exterior may look hard, but it's really mushy inside.
Really?
Yeah.
Speaking as Kate Addo, who would be your two picks?
Well, I can't tell you that. Unfortunately, I can't, because I don't think that it would be fair to whoever is the other person. Because really and truly, and these are people that, like I told you, some way, somehow, I have very close personal relationships with each and every one of them.
You're being diplomatic now.
No, I'm not. I mean, Papa will tell you that Uncle Fred, I call him that, Professor Michael Kwe, he would always say, well, the one question he always asks me, who is your father? And I'll tell him. The next time he says, who is your father? I said, but I told you that, Prof, that, so I've worked with all of them. Mm-hmm. I have very, very, Honorable Papa, I knew him before I even started working in Parliament. So it's not, and Honorable Jogate is a brother to my brother, Joe Bejuan.
So you can't give us two nominees?
No, I can't. I can't. I mean, I love all of them. And outside of these, whoever will come will be ready to work with the person.
But then if two nominees came up, what would the situation be? I mean,
if two nominees came up, they will vote. And it's a simple majority. And thank God it's 275, so you can't have a tie.
What kind of voting? I mean, we went to vote, general public, 7th December. It was secret, unless you decided to show your vote to everybody else. How will the voting take place? Or how has it taken place in the past?
I witnessed one where one of the things that Parliament, caucuses in Parliament employ in the discharge of their duties is the whip system.
Explain that to my viewers.
The whip system is, you know, when you are elected to, let's say, NDC caucus or NPP caucus, majority or minority caucus, you are there as an individual, but you're also there as part of an ideology. So that if the group decides that we are voting yes on this matter, the whips can decide that we are voting yes on this matter. And in order to ensure that everybody complies, we will approach it this way or that way. They could say, show your vote to your neighbor.
Okay, I was going to find out how you would show that you would know that we had all voted one way.
So if they say, show your vote to your neighbor, to the extent that it's only on your caucus, you have to show your vote to your neighbor because you agreed to come to the caucus. You agreed to be part of a group. You must abide by the rules and regulations of that.
So how does it work? I show my vote to you, you show your vote to the next person, and then we all know that.
We all know that we are all on the same page.
Okay.
We don't have anybody surprising anybody. Now, in the 7th Parliament, the institution has decided to take a slight departure from that. In the eventuality that we have more than one voter, your name is mentioned, you get up, you take a piece of paper, go to Abba, come and sit down.
Will you show the vote to us?
No. Nobody will see the vote, so it will be secret balloting. We'll use the division room. You just take your paper, you go, your name is mentioned, Kafu Day, you come for your paper, you go and vote, you come and sit down. Next person goes and votes, comes and sits down.
In this case, who is the electoral commissioner for this?
The table office.
The table office.
The table office is the group of people who sit in front of the speaker. You know, there is a table with 4 officers sitting in front, and these are the people who will, administer the voting. And then once they are done, we have one from each side, one member of parliament from the leadership of each side, and they will be there, and the vote will be counted by the table office, and then the winner will be announced by the clerk to parliament.
Promises to be quite exciting.
It is. I'm very excited for this week and in the coming weeks because it's always very exciting, getting new people and then also getting a new speaker and all those things. It's very exciting. It's like a clean page.
Has it been a situation where you've had maybe 3 names? You've had to vote for 3 names?
I think 2.
2 is the maximum.
2 is the one that I saw.
Okay.
2 is the one that I saw.
All right.
2 is the one the one that saw the election of the Right Honourable Ebenezer Sichi Hughes.
What do you think will be different in this 7th Parliament? You've seen quite a few.
I feel like this Parliament has a lot more diverse background, a lot more people with interesting backgrounds who have been very eager so far to make their views known, from outside of Parliament. So we are expecting that once they come to Parliament, they're not going to be shy with expressions of their views. But talking about the voting, we forgot to speak about the 2 deputies that will also be elected. Will also be elected on the same day. Now, what will happen is that the 2 of them cannot come from the same party or the same caucus. So again, there will be nominations. So one side will nominate and then the other side will nominate. Usually, the majority side tend to nominate the first deputy speaker. So we are expecting that the majority side will nominate the first deputy speaker, and then the minorities, and then if it's more than one name, there will be voting. And then the minority side will also nominate, there will be a second deputy speaker that will come from the other side.
The composition of this parliament is quite clear. It's you are either NDC or MPP. What are the advantages or disadvantages to this very clear demarcation that we have in Parliament?
Well, what could happen is that if it is allowed, we could have 2 deputies from the same side because they do have the numbers. But then the laws are clear on the matter that you cannot come from the same side. Or we could have the Michael Quay-Fred Blay type of combination where you have 2 people ostensibly from 2 different parties, but really from the same party. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you could also have that if an independent candidate is nominated.
In a situation like this where the minority is clearly in the minority, it's 104 to 171, how do they get their voices heard in Parliament?
The Right Honourable Peter Lajite used to say something. He said, let the minority have their say. and the majority have their way. It's a numbers game. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. So it's going to be a numbers game. But the thing about Parliament also is that once we enter the plenary, we don't work too much as, two sides of a divide. Usually what happens is that we work as a group. So yes, it will be a numbers game, yes, but also we are seeing a situation where it will be, as fair as possible. Because sometimes you have some members of Parliament, let's say someone like Honorable Akuto say, if he doesn't agree with you and you're from his side, he will still get up and say. So it's not going to be just like because we belong to the same side, we are going to do things the same way. No, I don't think that that's going to happen.
There's a lot of young people in Parliament this time. I haven't done the stats, but it appears that this time there are quite a lot. I mean,
there's a 23-year-old.
Yes, there's a 23-year-old there.
What it means is that it's going to be a younger Parliament. Okay, it's likely to be more vibrant just because there are more young people.
But will they be allowed to speak? I mean, these are all first timers. Won't the old boys bully them? Old boys and
catch
girls.
The speaker's
keep quiet
eye.
And talk.
No, catch the speaker's eye. Catch the speaker's eye.
If you're sitting at the back of the room,
catch the speaker's eye.
Wear a red dress.
You see, I spoke to a former speaker, and this is what he or she said. He said, look, for that person, when they enter into the chamber, it wasn't just a matter of you getting up to speak. Initially, you don't know anybody, so you are coming in with an open mind. But as you get to know people, you decide that this person's contributions are relevant to, what happens. This person usually disturbs, the flow of things when work needs to progress. And the speakers use their discretion. So catching the speaker's eye is not just a mere matter of getting up and, So one of the ways that, and this is a tip for the new ones, one of the ways that you can make sure that when you get up, you are called, is that before you speak, you should have done your homework. You should know what you're talking about. You should know, again, what orders. That thing is very crucial. What orders you are coming under, what you're going to say, how relevant it is to the discussion. If you are making an amendment to a bill, for instance, and one of the ways, too, that you get to familiarize with the speakers is at the consideration stages. Every parliament that I have visited in the world, at the consideration stages, sometimes you find 20 people, 15 people out of maybe 200, 300 people in the chamber, because it's a time when committees would have, gone to committee work, or people would leave it to the people who are interested in that. If I was a new member, it's one of the things I'll concentrate on. Consideration stage, contribute, make relevant contributions to amendments and things like that. It helps you to be, conversant with dealing with the chair. And then the chair also familiarizes with you or gets familiar with you. So it becomes easier for them to, identify you when you get up. So yes, there will be new members. And look, I always use Apenyo Marking as an example. He was a new member. He didn't know that much. But as quickly as possible, he was able to get a good grasp of matters. And then when he gets up, he gets called and he makes very good contributions. And sometimes even those in front tell him to come a bit forward.
Or you can be promoted?
No, he's not promoted. He just comes to sit in front and answers the question.
Temporary, and then goes back to the ghetto.
Yes. but it's not a ghetto. It's actually the nicest place to sit because it's cozier. It is a place where you can consult even more. It's like
and you can sleep and the cameras won't catch you.
You will not dare sleep because if you sleep, things will pass you by. Things will pass you. In fact, one of the things about this sixth parliament is that it's been quite exciting. People haven't slept because if you sleep, something will happen. Just sometimes, within the twinkle of an eye, some excitement is going on and you wonder, what this happened? So if you leave, you take your eye off the ball, you could actually be in trouble.
You visited quite a few parliaments. So how many? To your counts?
No, maybe over 10.
Where did you go where you thought, we could learn something from these people and bring it home to Ghana?
For me, it will have to be Canada.
Tell me about Canada.
Because I went to the Toronto Parliament, the Ontario Parliament, and I found that one, in terms of, and it's purely on what I do, because on the basis of what I do, they have a lot more publications, there's a lot more engagement with the public, which even if I say so myself, I feel like we could improve on, So I felt that, okay, we can take this, with us. And then they also have a very nice system where young people are brought, the ushers in the chamber that take the order paper and stuff like that. Okay, so there's a mentoring program in Canada where the people in schools are brought to Parliament and they stay for like 3 months. So teachers are employed and they teach these children and they work in the chamber. It's a mentoring program. By the time the child is 18, they already understand how the system works. If they want to go into Parliament, smooth transition. So I felt that that was something that we can take, and work on.
How about on the African continent? Any best practices that
On the
you
African
could share
continent,
with us?
you see, again, because our system is so unique. I mean, South Africa has a very good one. Nigeria has a Senate system, so they sometimes you go to a Senate Parliament, and then sometimes you go to the national one. So, I mean, I don't think that is a very good comparison to what we practice here. But I mean, having said that, when you go to the international conferences and things like that, you find that Ghana, surprisingly, because we sometimes say so many negative things about our legislature here in Ghana, when you go outside and you find how people keep asking us questions about how our system has worked and taken from us, I feel like we do ourselves a lot of disservice because we do not, talk about how well we've done, but we concentrate rather, because if you think that we are only, 20-something years, 25 years, and, next year will be our 25th anniversary of uninterrupted parliamentary democracy. Uninterrupted.
You're watching Hard Talk on GH1 TV. GH today. My name is Kafui Day. I'm here with the Acting Director, Public Affairs, Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, Kate Addo. Any questions, any contributions, 0288 500 600. The number again is 0288 500 600. Kate, so we're talking the parliaments, and today I was reading the graphic, and there was a call by, I think, a chief who was asking for the chiefs to be made part of the governance system. I've heard the calls for another house chamber to be created for the chiefs. If you could redesign parliament, would you involve the chiefs?
I mean, our system is such that chiefs are excluded from active. It's a
But if you could redesign?
If I could redesign, no, because I am a firm believer in the preserving of our cultural values, which we are losing too quickly, and the chiefs are the ones who are the custodians of that. You don't want them coming into parliament, and because at parliament, it's as J.H. Mensah would say, it is a place where opinions are shared.
But Kate, we saw chiefs doing the bold sign. We saw chiefs doing the change sign. They're already involved,
which they should not have done. That's what I'm saying. That I would like to. You asked me as Kate, I would like to preserve the culture, because I think that chiefs must have a certain aura about them, a certain mysticism. Because if we lose that, we are not Europeans, we are not Westerners, we don't have our Africanness. What then happens? I want to see my chief and shiver a bit. I don't want to have my chief go to debate with somebody and have them disrespected. What
did you think of them endorsing the candidates during the election?
I think it's wrong.
You were not happy with that?
No, I wouldn't want my chief. And I didn't think that, and one of the views I expressed privately, that I don't want any chief speaking on my behalf. Because you belong to my tribe, you think you have a right to speak on my behalf when it comes to politics. No, I don't think it's right.
Let's put the chiefs aside and come back to the House.
Let's talk about appropriation bill. Let's talk about appropriation bill.
We'll talk about it, don't worry. It's there for me. But, okay, let's talk about it right now. Let me give you the
one of the things, I'm now turning the tables, aren't I?
No, I'm being kind to you. You say people are not kind to the females. I'll be kind to you.
Well, one of the interesting things that happen, with our democracy, one of the arrangements that have worked so far, is that in the time when we are going for elections, we have budgets on account, so that the budget is presented every quarter. The idea is that if a new government is elected, they may not have time to put together a budget estimate for quick approval by Parliament. So we'll have the outgoing finance ministry, with the consent of the executive, presenting budget estimates for the first quarter of the next
year
next year to Parliament.
When the new Parliament will be in effect.
But don't forget that the Parliament can take decisions that are binding on the other one. So we've had the estimates. It was presented by the minister, I think, sometime in November. When we come back, Parliament will now look at the figures.
That's after January 7th?
After January 7th.
So the new Parliament will look at those figures?
Yes.
And they can shoot it down if they want?
They can shoot it down if they want. And then they can decide whether or not they want to go with that budget.
If the NDC had won, if Mr. Mahama had won, what would have happened?
The same thing.
Same thing would have happened.
Yes.
We would have had to wait for the new Parliament.
The appropriation is passed by the relevant Parliament. Okay. So I thought we should mention that.
Good point. Who approves ex gratia? There were messages going around before the election that Parliament had been dissolved, they had voted themselves for 1,000 CDs each, and look at how greedy they are, blah, 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 blah. Let's clear
First of
that
all,
up right
I
now.
also saw the dissolution of Parliament on Facebook, and I was wondering where that information came from. Parliament is not dissolved. The sixth Parliament is very, very much alive. It will only die on the 6th of January 2017. So the sixth Parliament of the Fourth Republic is alive, and in fact, tomorrow we will see the final part of the third meeting of the fourth session of the same sixth Parliament. So it's very much alive. Now, in terms of the ex gratia, it is an Article 71 provision, and the Constitution is very clear. It's a constitutional provision that is mandated by law. We cannot do anything about it. So a committee is set up. The executive oversees the remunerations of the legislature and vice versa. So that's basically what happens. So Parliament on its own cannot determine that they will get X amount or Y amount. No. It's a very clear provision in the Constitution that a committee should be set up. This committee, based on the factors that are at play, must determine how much money a person should get, having served 4 years in Parliament.
There are figures flowing around, and the figures are ranging between 400,000 to 625,000 cedis per member of parliament. What do you say about those figures?
I've also heard those figures. I'm not sure if those figures are right or wrong.
They're too low?
No, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know what went, if any of the figures are anything to go by. I don't know what goes into, determining why or how much a person, the quantum of what a person should get. But I'm sure the people who met would have taken a lot of factors into consideration and decided in their own good judgment that person A or person B having, because don't forget, it's not just Parliament, but all Article 71 office holders have their emoluments determined by a body that is put together.
Speaking as you, what are your thoughts on ex gratia? In some countries, I mean, a country that we admire very much, Singapore, they just struck off ex gratia and said, look, we give you a pension and you go off into the sunset and enjoy your sunset years. What are your views on ex gratia?
Yeah, but what does a pension consist of? I mean, my view is
Pay your people well so they get good pensions.
My view is that if the law says people should be given something, they should be given. But if we as a people feel that it should not be so and we are seeking to have it amended, we must find the right way, have it amended, and then deal with it. But if we as a people, for instance, when the constitutional review was happening, we could have, as a people, said something about that if we felt so strongly about it. So it was
a missed opportunity?
I feel like if we didn't do anything about it, yes, it was a missed opportunity. But if we do get the opportunity to talk about it as a group of people, as, the collective Ghanaians, we should. I mean, if we want to talk about that or any other matter, we should be able to do that.
Do you understand the emotions from the general public over issues of ex gratia? It happens every 4 years.
I understand and I appreciate the emotions of it, especially when you consider bread and butter issues and you find that there is somebody who cannot even afford 5 cedis a day. Then if you put it in context, then there are issues that really need to be interrogated. But then again, I also heard from somebody that I respected a whole lot. Again, I always quote him, the Right Honourable Peter Lagiti says that if you think that democracy is expensive, try the absence of it. So maybe if you looked at it like that, then we'll understand why a need for things like that to happen. Because look, we can have the best economic policies, we can have the best executive, we can have the best trade policies, we can have the best international public diplomacy policies. If we do not have a parliament, we are not regarded as democracy, a democratic state. And nothing we do will change that. So if that's the price we pay for our democracy, if that's the price we have to pay for our democracy, then so be it.
Let me get your points on the lame duck MPs, those who were in the sixth parliament, went for the elections but lost, and they will have to sit here and then wait for the new parliament to come. What is the motivation for them to come to the House? I mean, they lost their elections.
Surprisingly, again, just going by what I've experienced for the past 4 parliaments, it's at the time when they lose that they come, to parliament the most. I feel like maybe they are trying to take as much as they can from the experience before they go away, because you may not really value something until it's about to go out of your hands, and you think that, okay, let me take as much as I can from this experience. So you have people who are actually not likely to come back, actually coming to attend upon the sittings of the House on a regular basis, and they've been coming. I mean, people lost their primaries, they were still coming, they were contributing to the debates and processes in the House. People who have lost, they will come, they will come.
So they still have the vim and the excitement and the verve?
They do come, they will come.
Do you meet some who take the losses very badly and they are almost in a state of depression?
Yes, you do have a few who because probably they don't have a plan B, or because they didn't expect to lose, will not be too happy, or they feel that politics is a game where sometimes once in a while you get a bit of finger pointing going on. So this person thinks that that person didn't do this and that, therefore that's what led to this. We hear that all the time. But as somebody who works in Parliament, you have to have your poker face on all the time and listen I have learned the art of listening and not saying anything. You listen very patiently, and then once in a while you try to tell them that it will be okay. I mean, if you want to serve me and I say no, by all means go find something else to do.
I'll put you on the spot right now. Your best MP for the 6th Parliament?
I did this once and I got into trouble. My best
Get into trouble again.
My best MP, in terms of what?
Best MP. Your
overall.
Own criteria. Your overall. 6th Parliament. Your own Addo awards.
You know what? Just because I think he's learned the most, I think he's the one that's improved the most, I'll say he's Appenyo Markin. Because I feel like he's really, he's the one that's impressed me in terms of how much he's been able to grasp. But probably my favorite MP would be Fritz Baffo.
All right.
Yes.
Best MP, Appenyo Markin's favorite MP, Fritz Baffo. Addo, Acting Director, Public Affairs, Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas again.
Merry Christmas.
And a prosperous New Year.
Same to you.
All right, and that's your Hard Talk right here on GH. Today, back to Beswa Duona Hammond, who is a good friend of Kate's, by the way. And she's standing by. I'm sure she's blowing kisses to you as we speak right now. Stay with us.